All right, hello everybody. So today we're going to be playing with some Photoshop as well as some Camtasia. I'm just starting out learning, so just be patient with me. To begin though, this is what your Camtasia page is going to look like, and what I've done to start off is I've just gone to this little help button here and I've watched the getting started project, and that's how I'm going to know my basic editing later on. And there's other tutorials here that can help you out if you're looking for those. Elsewise, let's head to Photoshop. So I've already saved a couple of images onto my computer, and today I think I'm just going to do some basic cropping and editing of certain photos. So we're going to start by file opening a new picture. So here I've got my image, and what I think I'd like to do is just crop out the person in it and transport it to the other photo. So the easiest way to do that is going to be using the lasso tool. You can also use the magnetic tool. They all kind of have the same effect. It's just a matter of what your preference is. The magnetic tool will actually stick to certain lines, whereas this one's just kind of freehand. So it is good to zoom in if you're trying to be precise. So here I've got my lasso tool, and I'm just going to freehand draw around the edges. Don't worry too much if you're kind of wibbly wobbly, because you can always. Okay, so what I did there is I actually released the mouse before I was finished, so it came up with this little space, and I'm going to deselect, and I just gotta start again. Might try and start with a different starting point so that that doesn't happen again. Like I was saying, don't be scared if you're being too wibbly wobbly, because we can erase certain parts later on that we don't want. Okay, so now I've got this person selected, and I've made the error of not having made a new layer. So we're going to add the layer. Okay, so you see there I needed to make the new layer before I outlined the person. So we're going to deselect and do that again. So make sure you're on a new layer here. And we're going to do that one more time. Okay, layer via copy. So you're going to want to unlock the background so that you can kind of change it around and do whatever you'd like to it. So you're just going to double click on the little lock button here, and now you're going to press OK. Okay, so what I did there is I clicked layer via copy, and now you can see here I've got another layer where I just have this little person here, and we're going to go over some basic keys that will really help you. If you press Command C, it'll copy and paste, a lot like Word. If you're on a desktop computer, that'll just be Control C. So I'm going to press Control C for the layer, and then we're going to go to our original image and Control V for pasting. We're going to create a new layer. Okay. So I was just doing some troubleshooting here because I was trying to copy and paste the layer here, but it wasn't copying to my original image. And the reason that is because I need to go over here to the select box, and I need to select my entire layer here, which is this person. And that's when you can press Control or Command C, and then you can go to the original image and Command V, and then your little guy will show up over here. So now you've got another layer. If you're kind of like me and you can be a little unorganized, you can rename your layers so that you know exactly where they are. Just going to quickly unlock the background here too. Oh, we're on the background there, moving it around. So now you want to make sure that you're on the figurine layer. If you're wanting to change the size or anything of the figurine, you're going to select, and then you're going to right click, and you're going to select Free Transform. So what this does is it gives you this little box where you can move things. What you're going to want to make sure you do though is that you press this little button up here. It kind of looks like chains, and what that is going to do is make sure that as you scale your image, it doesn't become too disproportionate or anything like that. And so we're just going to make it bigger. In here you can rotate as well. You can flip it horizontally, so if I wanted it to look the opposite, I could do that. There's a bunch of fun little things you can do with that, and whenever you're at the scale that you'd like, you just press enter, and then you can go back to your little cursor here and move that around and place it wherever you would like. Now you see here that the edges aren't quite so clear, so what I'm going to do is I'd like to get rid of those. So I'm going to zoom in here so that I'm closer and I have a bit of a better view. And we're actually just going to go to the eraser tool, and you're just going to touch up the sides really delicately. Probably zoom in even more if we want to get that little space in there. Now if you want to undo anything, you just press Edit Undo. If you're wanting to go further back than that, you're going to have to do a step backwards just to make sure that you're not deleting anything that you don't want. So the eraser was still too big there. And there's other eraser tools here, so we could try to use the magic eraser and hope that maybe it just gets that space in there. Now that didn't work, it made me disappear entirely. So we're gonna redo. Oh, maybe step backwards. There we go. So we have that little space out. Either way, I'm sure there's a way you can change the eraser size and stuff like that, but I'm currently unaware of how to do so. So I think we're going to leave it at that for now. And we're just going to zoom back out. And I'm going to place my little dude over here. Alright, so now we got our little dude. It's not perfect by any means, but you get the gist of at least moving things around. Now, if you wanted to place another person exactly like that, a fun fact is that you can duplicate the layer. So it'll show up as figurine copy, and you'll have another guy over here to work with, and you can make him same size. He can be holding hands or whatever you'd like. So another quick shortcut is if you have something selected and you want to deselect, you can just do Command D for deselect. That works as well. And you can also press Command A to select the whole frame here. Now then, another fun tool that I've been learning to use on here is the pen tool. So this guy is good for drawing stuff. It is mostly useful if you're into illustrations or anything like that. And I'm still very much learning how to do it, but I'm just going to do a basic shape here. I'm going to try and maybe put a moon in the sky. So what you're going to do is first of all, what it looks like is this. It's kind of going to create your shapes. So I'm just going to quickly undo that. And you're just going to do your first click, and wherever you'd like your second line, you're going to do your other click. Now you're going to want to keep your right finger clicked down if you would like to adjust the curve, and you're going to do so with this fancy little thing here. And once you've got the curve you'd like, you'll leave it there, but you're going to want to then, before releasing, you're going to want to press the Alt key, and you're going to want to shorten this leg here, because if you don't do that, the next click you're going to do is going to adjust your curve in a way you don't want it to. So we're just going to click back up here, and you see what I did there is I let go too early, so I wasn't able to adjust my curve. But this would be a pathway, but because I messed it up, we're just going to right click and click delete path. And I'll show you what that other curve thing I mean is. So if you're doing this and you don't click Alt on that, the next time you click, it's already curved and it's kind of not necessarily the direction you'd like. So that's why you might want to edit that. So we'll undo that now. And undo again. So now we're going to take our curve the way we'd like it. And pressing Alt, we're going to readjust. And then we're going to close it, but this time we're going to adjust the curve again, kind of however you'd like there. Alright, I think we're going to go for a bit of a half moon today. So now that you have your path again, you can right click just like before. But what we can do now is fill path. And you can just pick a color. I'm going to do black here. 100% for opacity. And click OK. So now that's filled. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to delete the path nonetheless, just so that you have the shape, because the pathways kind of end up layering up and they tend to get in the way. Oh, so we've got to deselect this tool now. So now if you'd like to, okay, so the error I did here is that I didn't create a new layer as I was creating this, so now it's part of this whole layer. So I'm actually going to undo that. Alright, now we're finally back here and we're going to create a new layer. So now we're going to use the pen tool again. Remembering your Alt. Okay, so here's your little half moon. Going to fill path first and then delete the path. Then we're going to choose a new tool. We've got just this guy here now. And we're going to select the layer. So now we can move it around if we'd like. I might try to rotate it. Kind of make it more... It still doesn't really look like a moon, but that's okay. I'm not very good at this Illustrator thing. If I wanted to make it a whole moon, let's say, so I'm going to press enter on that, but let's say I wanted to make it a whole moon. Let's say it was actually circular. You can copy it once again. And then you've got, oh, wrong tool there. And then you've got another layer. And what you can do with that is you can then select it. And you can free transform again. You can flip it. And then you can bring it over here and try to connect the two. So you might want to free transform again and rotate it. Until it matches. Press enter once again and kind of glue those two together. So with Command D, you're going to deselect. And now you've got this lovely little shape. The problem is that right now, if you go to move either of them, they're not glued together. So if you're wanting to make it a uniform shape, you can simply select both with Shift or Control, and you can right click then and merge the layers. So now you see those two layers are now one, and I can move it around as a giant glob. So it's not really a moon, but we put a shape of some sort in the sky. Those are kind of the basics of that, and that's what I've learned so far. Those are good for, you know, if you're trying to add anything to your image or you're trying to combine two different images. Now, a couple of other really basic things I've learned. This is just another photo that I've taken. And there's some good just editing tools on here. For starters, there's blur tool, sharpen tool, and smudge tool, and so on and so forth. There's also over here some dodging and burning. So if we wanted to dodge, that's going to make areas that might be too dark a little bit lighter. This is for any areas of your photo that might be underexposed or anything like that. And if you're using the burn tool, that's for ones that are overexposed, and it's going to make the areas that you need a little bit darker. So it just really depends on what you want to stand out and what you want the color to be. But those are generally good for that type of thing. You can do it over in the corner and such. Another fun thing is up here. If you go to image, there's lots of, you can do contrast, tone, so on and so forth. Another fun one to play with is if you go into image adjustments and you play with the curves, you'll get this little graph. And this one's kind of fun for random results. You can kind of adjust the curve and it'll adjust the image entirely. You can add more to the curve. See, that looks kind of funky. So So you can save that if you want. If you don't want that, you can then undo it if you'd like. You can play around with it some more as well. Do kind of like the opposite on the scale there. Bunch of different things you can do. You can play with the hue and the saturation over here. That'll really change the colors. It can be kind of funky. You have all of your basic photo editing tools here, which is pretty cool. And like I said, if you go back over here, you can, so let's see, let's pick a random one, distort ocean ripple. So it'll do that to your whole photo. And so these are different kind of filters you can apply. You don't have to, it shows you an example of it, and then you can select OK or not. So let's see, brush stroke. Let's do ink outlines, and that'll show you what it looks like. And then over here you can just press OK or cancel, and it'll go back to your original image. Oh, glow edges, that one's kind of funky. So anyways, that's what I've learned so far with all of that, and that's kind of been my experience with it. I don't really know what I'll do with it yet. Maybe it'll be good for making posters and stuff later on. I just figured I'd show you guys some of the basics that I've been learning, because these are just good starting points for knowing Photoshop. Okay, so I'm on Camtasia now, and I'm just reviewing my video currently, and I've already found one feature that's kind of fun. You can zoom in here on your track. So if you're finding any parts of the vocals that you don't want, it's a little bit easier to edit out just very small sections of it. So here I'm editing out my first of my whole track, just pressing shift, putting the key where I'd like it to go, and selecting this little track here, that's the I'm going to right click, press ripple delete range, and that will glue those together, and the won't be there anymore. So still in Camtasia over here, as you can see, I've edited a lot of my video. Any places where there's stitches here is where I've edited out parts. I've also added a bit of text at the beginning. You can just do that by going to annotations and clicking on these boxes here. I've also added somewhere here a zoom in effect and a zoom out effect. Those were done by the animations over here. That's just so you can see the pages better. This is all in the tutorial video, so you can watch that and learn how to do that. Other than that, I've edited my video completely, and I think it's ready to go.